to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. You know, when you were reading my profile, it was sounding interesting until you got to the Manchester United part. You know, maybe I put that there hoping that we will continue to fly as Man U, but unfortunately, you know, the story is different. I was hoping we'll win the Europa League, but anyway, we'll prepare for next season. Thank you for having me. It didn't take, even though you said it took so much to get me, I will also say it didn't take so much because of the why. The why you guys are doing this really is because you want to contribute to knowledge, you want to contribute to the growth of the Nigerian person, the Nigerian worker, the Nigerian youth. And if there's something I'm also passionate about, really, it is that we all contribute to the elevation of this country. And when we contribute to the elevation of the country, really, it's the people. People, I would say, is the country. So in every capacity in which everyone can contribute, then we are actually driving growth for Nigeria and, of course, beyond Nigeria. So thank you. I'm excited to do this. You've given me a very exciting topic. I don't know if I should share from you or you'd like to share for me my slide.
For easy mobility, you could share from your hand, sir, but if you need assistance over here, I'm also available to help.
Okay. Please share, because I'm not seeing the share button suddenly. I don't know what happened.
Okay, then. Let's just do this. I hope you can see my screen, sir.
Yes, yeah. So you can scroll to the first slide.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. So maybe you make it full screen so that we can see everything.
It's actually full screen, but because it's PDF.
Okay, we can make do with this. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. So the topic I've been given to share with everyone today is breaking barriers and thriving in today's world of work. I like to take words, you know, intentionally, and the intentional words there is breaking and thriving, right? So you have to break something to thrive. I believe that's what the conversation is about. So what we'll be sharing today is really, what should I break? Why should I break? Which eventually will lead to my thriving in today's world of work. And I like to say that today's world of work is relative, because when we started using the word future of work, we got to a point where we said the future of work is now. So when we say today's world of work, it's not necessarily 2025. We are speaking to 2025 and beyond, say 5 years, 10 years from now. So that's the lens at which I'd like us to approach when we say today's world of work, because really it's changing rapidly. And I'll start with this quote that says, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. So laying the foundation I just spoke about when you talk about today's world of work is really not about now, it's really about the future. So Malcolm X has told us that whoever is going to thrive in the future needs to start it today. So we can move to the next slide. I'd like to ask a quick question, everyone on the next slide. What's the biggest barrier you face today? You can type in the comment section. Let's see some activities on the comment section. What was the biggest barrier you personally you think you're facing today? So in the context of work, what barrier do you think you're facing? Let's hear from everyone. I'll just use 1 minute to check for comments.
Please let's drop our answers in the chat room so we make it very conversational and interactive.
Anyone? I'm not seeing, are you seeing any? I don't think I've seen any comments.
Can we drop a comment?
What barriers do you think you're facing today? Anyone? Or maybe we are not facing any barrier. We are not thinking of any barriers.
And that means we're superhuman.
Yeah. Okay, effectively
Please let's drop our
leveraging
comments.
available network. Okay, thank you for that. Internal barrier, doubt. Fantastic. I need a bit more, 30 more seconds. Fixed mindset. Fantastic. Any other person? Inefficient network system. Okay. Lack of flexibility. Fear. Wow, that's a big one. Fear. Imposter syndrome. Okay. My friend said toxic work environment. Okay. Inability to adapt, adaptability. Okay, I think we've gotten a lot of feedback, and really what everyone has said so far, they are true, particularly those that are personal, such as fear, imposter syndrome, ability to adapt, flexibility, internal barrier. This person just summarized everything, he or she can think of internally. It's like a barrier. And what barrier really is what prevents us from gaining access, what prevents us from moving forward. I mean, those are barriers. So today, really, we want to talk about how to break those barriers of fear, barriers of imposter syndrome, of adaptability, and of course, the external factors such as toxic work environment mentioned, network system, and the likes. I didn't want to preempt what would be your personal barriers, right? Because we all face different realities, we all face different contexts. That's why actually I asked, what are these barriers that you think you are facing today? But I'll move on to share what I think in a broader context. What are barriers externally? At least these are the ones that affects every one of us. On the next slide. The truth is, we are standing at the edge of a very profound economic and technological change or transformation in human history. When you look at the order of things, when you look at how things are changing rapidly, you would know that this is a very significant part of our future, really, because things are moving really fast. In the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see rapid acceleration. We all talk about AI. It's becoming a buzzword. It has become a buzzword. And we'll talk a bit about that very soon. But it's not actually a buzzword. It's the reality. And this is really transforming the world of work rapidly beyond our imagination. When you look at the structure of global power and how trade interventions, trade restrictions is dictating how countries and economies are interacting these days, you would know that these are potential barriers to how we're going to thrive in the world of work today. Work doesn't exist in isolation. Work or job exists because of an organization. I want to create certain context. Work doesn't exist in isolation. It exists because of an organization. Either you're sweeping the street, either you are building products, or you are in service industry, restaurant, or whatever. You are working within an organization, whether it's formal or informal. Now, organizations also exist not in isolation, but within a broader context of the society, of a country, of an economy, of a region, right? And so if we become oblivious of what is happening within our context, then we can't truly understand what we need or the things that are creating barriers for us. So it's important for everyone, in whatever capacity in which you're working, you have to constantly understand the broader context in which we are working. And so when you understand how global power is changing or is restructuring, then we'll be able to understand what is required for us to thrive. When you look at even Trump, what Trump is doing in terms of global power shifting, USA realizing that power is shifting beyond what they think. China is gaining ground. India is coming up. Trump is partnering with the Emirates to ensure that it continues to gain ground. Russia and Ukraine affecting global oil prices and all that. the Asian giants coming up with great technologies, and many other things you can think about. The geoeconomic indices is becoming either less blurry or becoming so cumbersome. Political interventions also becoming cumbersome. And so these are barriers that can affect organizations, which will in fact affect the work. So when you understand the trend I made, work, organization, broader context. When it affects broader context, it comes back to the organization and the work. And of course, it affects the work, it affects the worker, the person doing the work. Other indices such as full digital financial system with cash becoming obsolete. What if one of your customers, your biggest clients, decides, maybe you operate cross-border, and they decide that, you know what, we don't want to operate in cash, we want to operate in digital currency. What is the impact of that in your organization? Things can change overnight, just the same way COVID, which we keep talking about, just changed everything, changed remote work and flexibilities overnight. Anything can happen. How are you preparing proactively with all these indices? AI is replacing the entire industries, forcing institutions to rethink labor, how income is made. I was talking at a session, I think 2 weeks ago, where a radiologist just gave an example of how AI has transformed his job, and he started, lamenting, oh, I don't have a job. What it would take him to identify who is anemic. It has taken him 20 years of experience to be able to read the X-ray and say, oh, I can identify a problem in this person's lungs or ribs or whatever. AI did that in 5 seconds. Now tell me how AI hasn't changed that profession. We say AI isn't coming to replace us. It is an enabler. It is a tool, absolutely. But the dimension of the dynamics of the work that is done in those areas is changing rapidly, right? Another context is climate change and adaptation. Some people say climate adaptation because really it's becoming difficult to see how we can tackle it. Rather, how do we adapt within these changes? In fact, nowadays it's difficult to know when it's rainy season or dry season. If you agree with me, you could just wake up in the morning and you see rain falling. You are wondering when exactly is rainy season or dry season. Things are changing. What is the impact of climate change? Green energy. It was last month I saw one of the beverage companies in Nigeria change their wrap. Why? Because they want to emphasize the fact that they are going green or supporting green intervention. How is this changing the world of work, changing organizations, changing you, how you deliver on your work? Gig economy expansion definitely is expanding. People talk about moonlighting, people having multiple jobs, people doing different things. How do you coexist? How do you accommodate these expansions within what you have templated as what work should be? We also see shifts in demographics. In developing countries or developed countries, you see aging workforce. In developing, you see a lot of younger workforce. How is this affecting how the broader context is being shaped, right? In our own context, we have a lot of developing or the active workforce. In developed countries, they have the aging workforce. How does this impact the work that you do? How does this impact trade? How does it impact how we do cross-border financial interventions or service interventions or trade interventions? These are just a few of how disruption is getting into overdrive. And I think particularly for me is those global power structures. Next slide. So with all these contexts and broader context, what are organizations looking for? Any serious organization would want to understand those contexts and see how they can break barriers as an organization. For me, organizations are looking for analytical thinkers. And when you talk about analytical thinking, it's actually people who can deconstruct information, deconstruct data, deconstruct issues that are happening globally. They can break it down into simple models, communicate it, do extensive research on it, and provide solutions. That is what organizations are looking for. When you understand the in quote, chaos I spoke about in the previous slide, now organizations need people who can analyze these issues proactively, who can look into the future and preempt what these indices pertain to our organization. So analytical thinking is very critical. Organizations are looking for performance intelligence, which goes beyond just traditional evaluation. After COVID, quality of life became, or during COVID, or just post-COVID, maybe 2 or 3 years after COVID, quality of life became very significant, right? People were very significantly, flexibilities was top burner. People understood that I can't kill myself. I need to take care of myself first. People could really see opportunities beyond what they were doing before. So they decided to put themselves first. Organizations came up with different value propositions, ensuring that they retain their talent. A lot of employee engagement initiatives were deployed to ensure that talent are retained, because people were jackpotting and jackpotting and different things. Talent migration was happening a lot. So a lot of investment was made in terms of retaining talent, inspiring talent. But after that, 3-4 years after, organizations now realize that in the midst of or after all these investments, how do we ensure the organization is a growing concern? How do we ensure that the organization remains productive, especially when you see how technology has really opened up the market exponentially and a lot of competition has started? And so organizations are looking for people who can understand their business strategy, understand global changes, global economic changes, and ensure that there is value for every time spent and for every resources being deployed in the organization, whether it's people, whether it's capital, whether it's land, whether it's machinery, people who can truly dimension that for this input of resource, this is the value we can get from it. So maximizing time. And time, we know that is beyond working within the 4 walls of your organization. Time, wherever you're spending time, either in your country, remotely, outside of the country, there is value. So organizations are looking for those who have that performance intelligence to create value. Organizations are also looking for people with broadened digital literacy or mindset. So it's no longer, oh, I'm a specialist in networking or I'm a specialist in coding. In the future, right, for us to thrive, organizations are looking for people who can embody these different capabilities in terms of digital adoption. So effective use of AI, big data. Some people would say, oh, I'm not a data person. Oh, in the nearest future, every one of us should be able, or we have to be able to use big data to make insights and make decisions. And the implications of data, which is cybersecurity intelligence. You may not be an expert 100% in all areas, but you must be able to understand the connectedness of all these capabilities. That's because when organizations are growing lean, rather than employ different capabilities in these verticals, why not have someone who has a bit of competency in some of these areas while we deepen just a few areas? Well-being intelligence will continue to be at the forefront. Even though I said quality of life became very high after COVID, it will continue to be. Because in the era of information, so many information, in the area of speed, right? When I say speed, it's because technology has given us the ability to run faster. People expect more from people because, oh, why not use AI? Why not use this technological capability? And so mental wellness, for example, physical exhaustion, there's blurriness in work and life. It's now work-life integration, right? So the ability of people to be able to create well-being initiatives in the midst of all this speed, that's what organizations will invest in. And well-being intelligence doesn't have to be a human being. It could be systems, platforms where you ensure that there's actually well-being for people. And of course, sustainability advocates. I talked about climate adaptation the other time. For organizations are looking for those who can come up with efficient, sustainable initiatives, sustainable strategies within their products, either of their vendors or their own operations within the organizations. People who can still make the organization deliver value even while adapting with sustainability goals. Now, for me, these are a few things that organizations are looking for. And so when we talk about you thriving in the world of work today, and we've defined today as the future, you need to begin to see yourself within this context of what organizations are looking for, either your current organizations or your future organization. Next slide. Now, there's what we call catalysts, right? I believe these are habits or skills that are non-negotiable for someone who wants to thrive in the world of work today. We've talked about all the broader contexts, what organizations are looking for, but some things are sacred in my own view. And I asked the question, can AI replace this? You can put your comment in the chat box, but I won't wait for that. I mean, while I'm speaking, if you want to, can AI replace these, what I call sacred habits or skills that is required for you to thrive in the world of work today? Excellence. It's one thing for you to have the AI tools, but how can you excellently deploy the information, the data, the insights that you've gathered from using or utilizing those tools? In every work that you present, your delivery, either with your clients, with your executive management, with your line manager, when you consistently display excellence in your execution, you will definitely thrive in today's world of work, either personally or as a worker. Excellence, when you don't compromise in the things that you do, you don't compromise. Everything that comes from you is excellence, even from your dressing, your speaking, you will thrive. Discipline, you have to, especially as a leader, right? Walking the talk. When you are disciplined, you create time to tackle those tasks, to read, to study, to increase knowledge. You have to be disciplined. In managing resources, you have to be disciplined. When you show care and empathy, you will definitely thrive in the world of work today. These are, I don't want to say intangible things, but they are innate things that you need to have, because when we talk about thriving in the world of work and breaking barriers, something must stand you out. Okay, every one of us, we understand the broader context, global, power structure, we understand climate adaptation, we understand how analytical thinking is important and all that. But what will stand you out at these qualities? Excellence. Both of us can use AI tools to deliver a report, but how you arrange or deliver your own report has to be excellent. Empathy is very critical. Even how you engage your colleagues, your customers, maybe your customer strategy, it has to show empathy. Because at some point or the other, the customers or clients also need to feel that warmness, that ability to feel that there's a human being behind this product. That empathy and care will stand you out. Of course, leadership goes beyond just leading a team or leading an organization. You have to be a self-starter. You have to be a situational leader. Some people are laid back. They see things going wrong and they say, well, it doesn't concern me. The truth is, everyone observes your actions. People observe you unknowingly. You'll be shocked when you ask people to give feedback on someone and you think they don't know. I was having a session 2 weeks ago with some people, and I asked for feedback on some people. Really, the lens at which they are seeing those people, I never saw it. And you think people don't observe them. People observe you, how you deal with issues. You have to be a self-starter. You have to be a situational leader. When things are going wrong, you can't just sit back. These are things that AI won't teach you, but you have to be disciplined, right, to take on these skills and abilities. You have to show courage. A lot of tension going on. Organizations are struggling to survive, but you have to show courage. Courage in even asking why, questioning status quo. You have to question, show courage, even in decision making. Don't be afraid of failure. Somebody talked about fear. The opposite, the opportunity for fear is courage, right? There's opportunity for you to show courage in the midst of, even when everybody is afraid. Take that decision, fail forward. And when you fail, it's not the end of the world. So you have to show courage. Content, I think I'll tie that to excellence. Humility and respect. You have to be dependable, you have to be reliable. And of course, you have to be curious. Curiosity would even help you understanding what's going on in the future, is the future changing, and how do I adapt myself, to be able to tackle these changes. So for me, when you understand the broader context, you understand what organizations are looking for, what will stand you out, right, would be these skills and these habits. Next slide. So in wrapping up, a key takeaway for me is that for us to thrive in today's world of work, you have to be adaptable, you have to be intentional, and of course, show courage. To break something, you have to be courageous. To break what people are used to, what the society expects from you, right? You have to show courage to break this personal. We listed those personal things: fear, imposter syndrome, adaptability, and all those things. You have to show even courage to yourself first. And to now break systemic barriers, courage is required. You don't have power over outcomes, really, but you have power over choices. You don't have power over outcomes or consequences, but you have power over your choices. We may not have power over those things changing the world, the way technology is changing things, disrupting markets and industries. But what you choose to invest your time in understanding these tools and these changes, your choices, really, you have power over it. And when you have power over choice, definitely the outcome will be aligned with your choices. So that's a key takeaway for us. And in the midst of uncertainty, I remember listening to John Maxwell. John Maxwell, we all know him, very solid author and thought leader, right? He said he spoke with the CEO of one of the top tech companies globally, I think even the second top tech company globally, and asked him, if there are things, the typical question we ask, if there are things you reflecting in your past, are there things you would like to have changed, or maybe you wish that they didn't happen and all that? And the CEO said, nothing. He was surprised. He said, because if I didn't go through those failures, those challenges, I wouldn't have learned a lot, or I wouldn't have known the things that I know today, right? In the midst of uncertainty, there is opportunity. If opportunities were to be everywhere, then there's no need for any of us to think of thriving or breaking barriers. So it's an opportunity for there to be uncertainty in the world of work, uncertainty in global economic context, uncertainty in Africa, in Nigeria. It's a good thing, because therein lies opportunity for you to be courageous and break barrier. That's what will stand you out. That is the only thing that will stand you out. So you should be excited that there's uncertainty. Sounds odd, right? But it is good for there to be uncertainty. Even in your organization, there are uncertainties. It's an opportunity for you to be courageous and break the barrier, because when you take on this opportunity, then you will thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I want to believe everybody believes it's awesome. My notes is filled up. But really, I want to touch base on some things that you said that really, spoke to me, stood out to me, and resonate with me. There's something you said about observing. People observe you. In your place of work, people observe you. The way you work, excellence in your work, integrity. People look at you, people watch you. It doesn't even have to be your line manager. It doesn't have to be your colleagues. It could be people from other departments. And there are rooms where, conversations are being held, that you don't even know conversations are being held. So it is how you then position yourself that, people would say in those rooms. So it is important that, you need to actually give your best wherever you are, whatever situation, whatever role, whatever job, give your best, because you never know who's watching. You really never know who's watching at every point in time. Another thing that I really held into is the fact that, well-being. We're talking about work, we're talking about, all of these things, but every organization now, I believe, should put that at the core of, whatever strategic work they're doing. We're saying people should come do this. We're working on services, we're working on products, goods, and all that. We're getting people to work, study, certifications, have all of this knowledge, be intellectual, but are we balancing it with people's well-being? Are they not being overworked? Do they have all that they need to get things working? Mr. Dipo said something about systems, processes. It is important to put all of this in place. right? Just so what's called employees can thrive even in that place of work. Another thing that spoke to me at the habit you mentioned, it is not just about being an intellectual person, oh, a tech bro, oh, a specialist, a professional. This habits that you need, the courage, the excellence, the resilience, all of these habits are really important for we to thrive in a place of work. It is not enough for you to be the most brilliant person or the most excellent, the most brilliant person, right? Or you have the whole of Excel in your head. In machine learning, you are gunning for it, but do you have those soft skills? Do you have those great habits that people can then work with you, right? It's very important for us to own that. And then finally, another thing that stood to me is the fact that I said, there will always be uncertainty in your place of work, in your country, wherever you find yourself. But in uncertainties, there are opportunities. It is now important for us to prepare ourselves for these opportunities. When it comes, let us hold on to it. And when we're able to hold on to it, let us thrive. Let us thrive in those opportunities. Thank you so much, sir. This has been so insightful. So I want us to drop our questions in the chat room. I know there are a lot of things you probably want to have more clarity on. I want us to drop our questions. Okay, so I'm going to start with one. He said, how can one get along in a workplace? I'm not sure I understand this question. How can one get along in a workplace replete with imposter syndrome? I don't even understand. I'm trying to understand the question.
How can one get along?
A workplace replete with imposter syndrome. Abiola, could you make the question clearer?
Maybe a workplace filled with imposter syndrome. Maybe I'll assume that's what the question is. How can you get along in a workplace filled with, right? I think that's it.
I mean, that's what he's speaking to.
Yeah.
If we can, okay.
Okay, but if the person can rephrase, then that's fine. So that because of time. Yes. Yeah. Imposter syndrome. Everyone has been through it, right? In fact, if you haven't been through imposter syndrome, well, maybe I'll say you're superhuman. I'm not sure there's anyone who is a superhuman, right? Because at some point you would doubt yourself. You would doubt, are these shoes not bigger than me? Do I have the capability? And recall when we talked about what barriers do you think you're facing personally? And someone mentioned fear. Fear is good. Fear is good, but the application of it is what is not good. Truth is, for every great public speaker, for example, they would tell you they would usually feel those, I don't want to say butterflies, something in their belly before they go up the podium, that fear, oh, can I deliver this? Oh, this is a different audience and all that. So imposter syndrome is not new. And if you're feeling it, there's nothing wrong with you. But how do you come out of imposter syndrome? First is you have to critically dimension yourself, examine yourself. What have I achieved as a person, right? You can go as far back as your primary school, and you say, oh, in primary school, now I'm trying to be practical. I was actually the social prefect. Why was I chosen as a social prefect? We had maybe 20-something people in my class, or maybe your set, you had 100. Why was I chosen as a social prefect? There must be something unique about me that I was chosen as social prefect. Or even it was the food coordinator or something, you were given a position or you were given a kind of responsibility. Then there is something unique about me that was chosen. You capture that. You can begin to look at, oh, within my friends, why do they say I'm always the one to organize the party? I'm the one to. Now, I'm trying to cite examples of things that are not like, why am I the first in my class? Or it doesn't have to be that. Because every one of us will have unique abilities. If we are all the same, then the world will be so boring, right? So you have to be able to examine and write down, sit with yourself and write it down and say, oh, I did this. Oh, in my common entrance, I was first 10. Oh, in secondary school, I did this. University, I was this. Oh, within my organization, maybe I was the one that was told to organize the car parking or whatever. There must be something that stands you out. By the time you articulate that, you begin to gain your confidence back. That's one. Two, when you review yourself and say, maybe I should have been more on this, then take practical actions to develop yourself. It doesn't take much to develop yourself. Discipline, remember those skills and habits. You can say 5 minutes every day, 10 minutes every day. This area of my work, I want to learn something new. We often underestimate the power of micro learning, and we don't have to be in class. YouTube is, for example, is a great tool. Last week, I just went on YouTube and YouTube development economics, right? And I started, so luckily there was, I think it was MIT, a subset of MIT. There was a whole lecture on development economics 101. And I started listening to it. In fact, at a point I was bored. I just kept my phone beside my pillow and it kept on playing. We often underestimate the power of developing ourselves in a micro way. So when you examine yourself, oh, I can actually be more. Forget about whatever anybody is saying. If they feel you are capable, be humble, right? To see those gaps and say in the next 3 months, I want to achieve this learning. Or in the next 6 months, I don't have this certification. Maybe I'm a product manager. I don't have product management certification. Oh, the truth is, by the time you even enroll for that program, you begin to gain your confidence because you can actually see the reality of the learnings you need to deploy on your job. And finally, I would say, if your organization doesn't appreciate this examination you have done, this intentionality to develop yourself, and maybe you have even developed yourself, don't worry, that value remains in you, because one day it's just a matter of time. Remember I said, and Ekundayo portrait, people are watching. You just continue displaying excellence, displaying reliability, consistency, and all those things. Then you'll be given bigger opportunities. So recall, what are the things that make me me? What are the gaps that exist? And I want to develop myself and bridge those gaps. Then you become more confident of yourself.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to go to the next question. From Kabiru Raji. He said, why do employers refuse to employ candidates that have been out of employment for a while, regardless of the candidate's past experience and skills? That's
Yeah, it's difficult to maybe want to force those employers. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to talk about Sterling, right? We have an initiative called Momship. So I want you to know that it's not all employers. So in our own case, Momship is a talent attraction initiative wherein we gave opportunities to women who had to leave work because they became moms, right? Especially those whose, that situation, that was their first pregnancy. Sometimes or most times it's difficult for them because it's actually a new phase of life. So going on maternity leave, trying to adapt postpartum things, and they have to take care of their babies. Some they have challenged, baby growth, and so they have to pay attention to their babies. So, and many organizations wouldn't give you that laxity to say after 3 months you can take extra 3 months. So they have to leave work. So we looked at this pool of talent and say there's nothing wrong with them. They just had a bigger responsibility to create life, to nurture life, bring up a human being, and start that human being the best way that the human being, which is the baby. And so it's even a, how do I put it, a developmental stage of their life for them to nurture a new human being, observe, think analytically. Oh, is the baby having malaria? Or is the baby having infection? How do we balance things? Work-life integration, you have to take care of the husband, or maybe there are other siblings, family, and all that. Why? And the person already had some professional skills because we launched the campaign, and you can't imagine the quality of talents we got from that pool. And year on year, in fact, recently we are wrapping up another cohort of those momship. So organizations who don't take cognizance of this are losing, because really the talent market is stiffer, is more competitive, and the less rigid you are as an organization, they are losing. If you have that power to drive initiatives like this, please go ahead and drive it, because you are missing their quality talents from this pool of people. And there are several reasons why people go off work. Some, they want to educate themselves the more. Some, they are relocating because of marriage and some other things, and before they settle down. So, I mean, it's a pool that many organizations, and really these days, is recruiting for skills, not just certification. Someone who has deployed this skill, has been able to use this skill somewhere, proven. Then you can easily predict that if I bring this person on board, the person will apply the same skill for me and make my organization better.
Thank you very much, sir. Kabir, I hope it was able to answer your question. I hope that was able to give you more context into what your question was, was all about. So can we have more questions? And if you would like to speak, yes, you can please unmute and ask your questions. We have Mr. Dipo here. Like I said, I dropped it in the chat. This is a pool of knowledge here, right? Let's draw from it. Let's draw from it, really. So let's drop our questions, right? Let's drop our questions, please. So you said something about, it's all about skills now. I know some people will be like, oh, does it mean that we should not take higher educations like, oh, masters, PhD? Should it just be certification? Should it just be refining certain skills? What are your thoughts on people that say, you know what, I still want to have more masters. I want to do a PhD. And some that say, you know what, I don't think I want to have that level of education. I just want to take on, data analysis, data management, machine learning, or the likes. How do you think people can balance those two levels of those two branches of education, really learning?
None is wrong. I mean, as organizations, you have to be open. And I'm not saying people who want to even educate themselves to doctorate level shouldn't be given opportunities or shouldn't be, encouraged to do that. Absolutely not. Truth is, even in the education sector, the mindset is changing as to how education is deployed or these learnings are deployed. If you go to any forward-thinking institution, education institution now, their approach to learning is totally different. It's practical, it's applicable to the world of work, right? And you imagine courses that you naturally wouldn't find in some climes. You just go on their website and you see courses on adapting to flexibility, and you are wondering, is that a course? But by the time you go through those courses, you would understand why those courses are being deployed. And we've talked about, in our conversation today, we talked about how the future is changing, what is coming rapidly. So with that understanding, you can easily say, oh, this is an area I would like to develop myself in because I know it's going to be relevant now. And when we say now, it's the future, right? So people are encouraged to gain additional knowledge. But the fundamental, which is skill, when you talk about, I mean, many organizations, you say you do competency interviews. Competency interviews really, in summary, is predicting the future based on what you have done in the past, the skills you have deployed in the past, right? And so that's why they want you to explain how you have used data to improve a business or reduce costs somewhere or create more efficiencies in operations, right? By the time you show me how you deploy that skill, then I'm quite comfortable to say, then you can replicate same for me while you continue to develop yourself. Education really is to broaden your mind, help you research more into areas you are unknown areas, and it will also help you just fine-tune that skill in a broader perspective.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for giving clarity on that question. So can we have more questions? Like I said, if you want to speak instead of typing, you can unmute, raise your hands, and then, ask the questions. We have Mr. Dipo here. Please, let's ask all the questions that we can ask him right now. So I will just wait for a few seconds. Let's see if we would have people that want to speak or drop their questions. This has been a very, very insightful session because we have a good number, and to be honest, it's not dropping. So I can tell people actually they've been enjoying the conversation, they've been learning, they've been picking nuggets, right? So I was hoping we would have a lot of questions, right? But please, let's have questions. And it's not just for Mr. Dipo to speak. He has, he's knowledgeable. It is for us to, get more knowledge where we think, there are gray areas that are blurred to us. Okay, so there's a question from Faith. She says, How can a fresh graduate thrive in the job market? Well, maybe.
Well,
Okay, sir, please go ahead.
I'm trying to understand the question. So either when you say job market, maybe you're in an organization or you are searching for job. I'm trying to, but let me try and just.
I think it speaks more to trying to get a job as a fresh graduate.
Okay, I would say that. You remember I said the talent market is getting tougher, right? So which means talent is what dictating the market right now. So employers are looking for the best of talent, right? But in the same way, you see or a marketplace where an advert is placed and you have thousands of fresh graduates applying for same jobs. Okay, maybe I should also backtrack that we're in a society where we think job is defined by working in a corporate environment. I want that to sink in. We are in an environment where we think you have thrived or you've justified your education going to school by working in a corporate environment. Maybe that is changing now with the younger workforce. So I wouldn't know the category of where this question is, but the general mindset is that. And so you can thrive or strive in job market when you know that your contribution is elevating humanity, for example, and you do it in the best way, in a creative way, in a unique way, even if it has been done by some other people. Or while leaving that, we are still in a market, like I said, where thousands of people, apply for the same job. So what stands you out really, if I talk from a perspective of interviewing young graduates over time, is number one, your authenticity, right? Your authenticity, how you have applied yourself in the most simple ways, whether in school, you were interning somewhere, you're being deliberate as to developing yourself, you not being fixated, I studied economics and the only thing I know, or I studied anatomy and that's the only thing I know. That ability to show your broad thinking, holding conversations generally, just being able to hold conversation, because the interview can flow in any direction. And I'm not saying you should have in-depth knowledge, but just an ability to engage, to be courageous, to interact with people, show potential, that you can think critically. If I ask you a trivia question, for example, even if you don't give me the templated answer, you bring in a different dimension or perspective to my question, just shows me that you're someone who can analyze, who can think critically, and some of those habits, that I've shown. In the way you show up also, whether it's a virtual interview or physical interview, it really doesn't matter. There's a way you show up to these conversations. And while waiting, don't waste time. Time is value. Time is money, right? You can do open learning programs, those that are free, and continue to develop yourself. Volunteer in places where you can work, because all those things you are gathering, remember I said the value is in you, and once you have that opportunity, definitely it will be evident that there's something just different about you that you've acquired. I hope I was able to contribute to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. I like the bit where you said, while waiting, don't just wait, upskill, right? So learn more, put yourself out there, and then when the opportunity comes, right, you have something, to give. So we'll take the last question, sir. Debbie says, please rate these on level of importance for recruiters: certifications, traditional school degrees, work experience.
So there's no right answer. There's no fixed answer. I mean, take a doctor, for example. I'm not sure anyone will shortlist you if you don't have that medical degree certificate, because it's about life and death, or a pilot, for example, right? So I think it will vary for different organizations. But in this bucket of organizations, maybe we can answer your question and say, especially when it is not an entry level role as such. Work experience is absolutely important because degree doesn't matter. You've proven that you can actually deliver value from having 1 year or 2 years experience, which you're going to talk about during the interview. So I would say work experience. I mean, after my first explanation of some professions, you require certification first before the conversation even progresses. But in a broader perspective, work experience definitely, and of course certification and school degree, I'll box them together. So work experience will be top.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay. I said it was going to be the last one, but this is the last one. I was asking for questions, right? Okay, so this is the last one, right? I will take it after this. It says, where do you draw the line between courage and disrespect? Because some organizations can see anything as disrespectful. I think it's just okay. So I want you to speak to it, and I'll also just give my own opinion as well.
No, I will yield to you. I think you should give yours. I don't mind.
Okay, so when you say that some organizations see anything as disrespect, I think it boils to the cultural values of that organization. What are their cultural values? What do they expect you as an employee to do? I'm sure there's a certain code of conduct, right? If it's been listed that this is not acceptable, then it's not acceptable. If you did anything contrary to that, that is disrespectful to the stance of that organization. So it really depends on where you're working. If some things are not accepted, they must have stated it. So if it's not accepted and you're doing it that is disrespectful to your fellow employees or to the organization as itself, that's what I think, sir. I'd love to hear what you think about this.
Yeah, thank you for your contribution, right? And I've learned from you too. Yeah, oftentimes people misconstrue courage and disrespect. You're full of yourself, maybe the way you talk, you carry yourself, or you interrupt people when they're talking, or you want to pass across your point. Yeah, there is that tendency. And there's something called social intelligence. You must, apart from having emotional intelligence or your professional intelligence and all those things, social intelligence or cultural intelligence, which is what you spoke about, is very important. You must understand the context of your organization first, right? Because organizations exist with people. So observe and know where to draw the line. For me, that's number one. Secondly, we can all improve. There's a way you would write that even to your peer that is disrespectful, really. My boss would always say something called, she always says this thing, professional arrogance. You might be so good, but you can be professionally arrogant, even to your peers. The way you want to pass across your message, maybe you need to correct something, maybe they are not seeing what you're saying. How you say it is important. And I think everyone should be deliberate as to, it's not wrong in learning how you pass across your information or write. You can write emails that will just, break every table. No, you can ask another person, how I'm writing, is it disrespectful? Am I passing across my point? It's not emotional, right? So it's important that when we are courageous, in fact, people who are very smart should deliberately learn. Remember, I talked about humility and respect as the skills and habits, right? So you consciously also have to ensure that, am I professionally arrogant? Am I passing across my information that will really, really help that person? I just want to show up myself. And so understand your management. Maybe you are presenting at a board or exco meeting or a leadership meeting and you're just full of yourself. No. You have to stay humble, respect people, respect your peers, even people reporting to you, working with you. You have to respect them. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. This has been a very insightful session, and not just insightful, but also very, very impactful. And I believe everybody, aligns with me on this. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for honoring our invitation. This is really good. I've noted so many things down. I'm more knowledgeable on certain areas regarding, place of work, right? Regarding cultural practices, regarding HR practices as well. And I really, really do appreciate this knowledge that you've shared with us. To our attendees, I want to say thank you for, spending so much time with us. I know it's been a very good use of your time because a lot has been learned in the last 1 hour. So in the chat room, we have our social channels there has been dropped. So please follow the NESG Academy on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on X, formerly Twitter. Please follow us. We drop nuggets and all that for everything that the Academy is doing for civic engagement, right? It is one of the things why we're here is to educate the public, right? Bring knowledge to the people. So monthly basis, for people that are just probably joining us for the first time, monthly basis, we bring professionals, we bring specialists in their fields to come educate our people in different areas, law, policies, management, really anything, even soft skills, anything at all that we think, this is important for people to learn about, that it might be a bit difficult for them to get this knowledge from these people. So we're literally just bridging the gap right there. We're bringing this really great professionals and specialists to our community of people, to come learn from them, to come draw from the pool of knowledge. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this month. Of course, we'll be here again next month, right? So join, follow our channels to be in touch with us, to know what topic we're speaking about next month and who we are bringing up next month. So thank you very much, and do have a lovely day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.